Let's talk about the gun control push and whether this time things might actually be different. Senior political analyst Brit Hume is with us tonight. Good evening, Brit. You know, we have had turning points in the past. We had the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in Connecticut. We had the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando, the Las Vegas shooting. In the wake of all of those, there were calls for more gun control, or at least, you know, in the wake of Las Vegas, a ban on those so-called bump stocks. Yet over 100 pieces of gun control legislation have gone nowhere. Will anything change this time around?
Well, it feels, John, as if something might. Partly it's because of the accumulation of these incidents and the public's reaction to them. Partly I think it's that these young students who have come forward, and you saw all of them yesterday on the Sunday shows, and they're planning, as you heard, the march next month, have been quite effective, it seems to me. So there's a sense, coupled with the fact that the president is now talking about doing something to strengthen the background check system and make it work a little better, that we might get at least something this time around. However, I think it's fair to add, John, that in this particular case, we have, you know, a real culprit in the sense of the FBI and the local authorities in Florida doing such a poor job of responding to the clear warnings they had that this young man, this very young man who was identified to them by name, was a danger. And, you know, the FBI dropped the ball, and so did local authorities. So it's possible that something could be done to, you know, encourage a better response. But it looks like, you know, that will take some of the focus off more gun control.
The president, as you mentioned, has told people at Mar-a-Lago over the weekend that he could come out in favor of strengthening background checks. It's the bill being floated by Senators John Cornyn and Senators Chris Murphy. But really all this would do was just improve the application of current law. So would that really change anything?
Well, it might, but we don't know that. But you're right, it is all about current law, and it's about the failure of current law to do the job, just as in this particular case we saw the failure of authorities to do their job. So what might come out of this would be a resolve in that area. Whether anything, you know, first of all, you have this problem, John. We always have this when we have these episodes where some weapon is used or some circumstance is encountered here, and it turns out that what's being proposed to address it wouldn't have addressed the case in particular. Mm-hmm. Now, I suppose, you know, this was not a banned weapon, and, you know, the semi-automatic weapon was not. Efforts to ban those in the past, John, as you suggested, have gone absolutely nowhere because a lot of the people who are talking about legislating against them don't seem to understand, you know, how they work or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if this is different, but I think you're absolutely right to be skeptical about it.
You mentioned this, that the FBI dropping the ball on a tip that they got back in January that may or may not have prevented this, but at least they would have known about it. The president tweeted about that over the weekend, saying, very sad that the FBI missed all of the many signals sent out by the Florida school shooter. This is not acceptable. And then he goes on to say they're spending too much time trying to prove Russian collusion with the Trump campaign. There is no collusion. Get back to the basics and make us all proud. The president was widely criticized for that tweet. Brett, did he help himself by sending that out?
Well, I'm sure it fired up his supporters. From what I see on social media, a lot of them seem to like that. But those are people who are already, you know, they're already with him and will be with him. And it does nothing to expand his support. And his comments about the FBI's performance on this case are perfectly valid. But the FBI is a great big institution with thousands of agents, dispersed all over the country. And whether a failure in the Miami field office or whatever office was responsible had anything whatever to do with the extent of the Russian investigation, I think is doubtful. So I think, you know, the president was probably not standing on very solid factual ground there, and the criticism of it, seems to me, was perhaps justified.
Brett, always good to get your thoughts. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, John.